Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Elemental Growth. There we go. I think everything is up and going. I can get myself into a nice little Buddha position. Position. Light this candle. Happy first day of spring, everyone. The spring equinox. Got a window open so you'll hear the wind behind me. I'm still going to go out for a walk today, but it's definitely a sign of spring. A lot of rain. The rain has washed away all of the remnants of winter. All of the snow is now gone, at least where I am. I know I was up further north in the Muskokas and the Muskokas and the Georgian Bay area both last week, and it was still pretty snowy there. But where I am, yesterday I think was the last day of snow. So very nice to see. The winds are still a little cold, but we know there's a warm front coming. And yeah, with the full moon just passed, which was the worm moon, or also the sap moon, because you can start collecting maple syrup sap now. So it's just maple water, so full of electrolytes. Maple syrup in itself, once it's boiled down, it has a really high glycemic index, but it's still a great natural sweetener, providing you tons of antioxidants. And when you're drinking it as just a sap, it is an amazing, amazing hydration tool and gives you tons of different minerals, key component minerals that a lot of us aren't getting enough of in our diet. Uh, Birch is also another which you can do. Oh, you guys, thank you so much. Thanks, kiddo. I'm excited. Sweet. All right. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye. Thank you. It's like a restaurant. I'm like served so well. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Other than being treated like a queen today on this beautiful spring equinox, uh, you know, this is a time of flow, of tapping into our flow, of releasing anything that's no longer serving us, making room for that which is good. To embrace these things that are so good. I got amazing people in my life, people that I get to travel to. I get to go so many different places and connect with people. Some meeting for the first time, some have been, places that I've returned to, year after year or month after month. And yeah, it's really a great time, and being able to release really does make space for that. I've been tuning in to the seasonal cycles, to the moon cycles for so many years now. I started my journey in 2014, but really I started as a little girl. We can all say that, right? It's when we come back to our roots. I was lost for a while and then I was found. I found myself again when I was 25 years old. And I found the foundation that I never had or that I thought I never had, by taking responsibility for my own life and realizing that Mama Nature provided everything that I could ever need, including these messages. And one of them just happens to be right now, this emotional release. And also, brings so much good medicine and flow our way. When there is blockages and a lot of rain is coming in, right? This is when accidents happen, floods happen. There's just this gush release. When you're tuned in with the cycles, there is that flow where you're just, the seasons are doing their thing, you're doing your thing. There's harmony, there's peace, there's beauty in all of it. And I'm definitely feeling that right now. Like all of the hard work, all those years of getting into alignment has paid off with mushrooms and amazing. burst of flavor. All right, so I've got some amazing stuff planned for today. We're going to talk about frogs, an ancient sign of rebirth, also that brings a lot of medicine, much like the spring does. We'll tap more into uh, the equinox and also topics around rebirth. I have a new product that I'm trying here today, so we'll talk about that as well and some other things that are on the market and available when it comes to working with mushroom medicines. And um, hmm, I think that's about it. There is an article you can reach. I'm going to, of course, have everything down in the description of this video so you guys can access any and all resources with just a simple scroll down and click. Um, and take a sip of tea here and we'll tune in with a little meditation. And this will be your spring equinox meditation. Tap into some of that emotional intelligence, surrender and release. We'll also wash away and cleanse. We will. I'm just listening to that wind there. Like, I know wind, that's the fall, but there's a lot of wind out there right now. I'm almost thinking today is one of those days where we're going to be blown away with blessings. So let's tap into that during this meditation today, too. Get in a comfortable position, roll your shoulders back, really adjust your spine. Take the time for yourself to really check in with your posture throughout your day, throughout your hour. You okay, grab your shoulders like this. You're gonna strengthen that spine today. Get up into superhero posture, but to do that, we're gonna lengthen the spine. Start moving, align your breath. You're gonna bring your arms up. This is how we'll cultivate some confidence today. Confidence to let go, confidence that all is as it should be, confidence that we're in the flow now. We're in it. No longer are we struggling to stay above water. We're floating on it. We're feeling good. Once you've got it, I want you to bring all what you're asking for into your heart. Another deep breath here. Hands to your forehead, your third eye. The work we're doing right now is in our sacral chakra. The work we're doing right now is all in that water element. Take a moment here. Think about what that means to you. Is there some work you have to do in your chakra area? This is going to be, the time to really align that sacral chakra to heal any of those blockages, to break through any blocks you may have in that area. So linked to sexuality, it's linked to your emotional intelligence. It's also where a lot of our memories are stored, up until our early 20s. Now think about what the water energy means for you. What's the water element for you? What's your relationship like with water? Do you stay hydrated? Do you enjoy your showers? Do you take baths, polar dips? Do you do isolation tanks or the water float tanks? I love getting my minerals from water. Some of the best my body ever felt was living right next to an ocean. And lastly, I want you to think about rebirth. Think about a time in your past where you were reborn. Maybe it was a near-death experience, maybe it was a new career, maybe it was becoming a parent. Think about what a new rebirth would look like. Becoming that higher potential, that higher self, becoming that person you need to be to manifest all that you want to create in this world. Deep breath and make that commitment to yourself to allow, surrender, to manifest, to flow. You're ready. Take a deep breath. We'll dive into the main topics of today's episode and take a bite here. Like, man, I got out of the shower shortly before this and then I was like, went right into work. So this was like so kind. I haven't actually ate yet and did the full moon fast. So, well, I did eat yesterday actually quite a bit. That was so good. Amazing people in my life. You know, sometimes they treat me like this, but it's also how I treat them. You know, I put my love and my intention into everything I do, and that includes, you know, the food that I do, the dishes that I wash, the grocery shopping that I do, or the way that I save seeds and regrow things, or propagate from, you know, cuttings of things I've purchased or used in the past. It's building relationships with the farmers down the road, you know, just when I went to purchase these eggs, which are being shared among us, I was talking to the farmer about not having access to horseradish and really wanting to make fire cider and things like that come the fall. They actually pick it and harvest it in the spring, so I'm going to get my hands on it a lot earlier and I'll be able to grow from the clippings. If I would go to a grocery store and try to grow horseradish, which is really hard to find here right now, which is really surprising because you can find it in a grocery store in a can already used up simply. But if I was able to get my hands on one in a grocery store around here, I'm sure if I went to an Asian market, I could. But it wouldn't grow here because the environments are different. This particular farmer is from Europe where they do actually grow horseradish. So not only do I get my hands on it earlier than I thought, but I also get to propagate it, and there's a guarantee that it will grow here throughout the winter. And so I'll be able to harvest year after year after year. And you know, it's these relationships that I build from where it is that the food is first at to where it ends up, like in my belly, you know, afterwards. It's just, yeah, it's all a part of it. And it's in me living that way myself that, you know, I have these amazing opportunities and I get treated in this like most amazing way. You know, I never would have imagined that, nor would I have been able to appreciate, you know, having, you know, a meal brought to me. I was in the hospitality and tourism industry my whole life. I was the servant bringing food. I didn't know how to appreciate that because I was never appreciated. Now it's the opposite. Now I do give that full appreciation, and in return I'm showed appreciation, and I know how to accept it. And you know, it's a great sign for me looking out into the spring and seeing my own rebirth that I've been able to experience in my life. I was just on Instagram where I'm allowed to go live again, by the way, after months of censorship. You know, I guess I've been on good behavior. It's time to fuck some stuff up again. Because I guess I should, yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna shit on myself. Never mind. But yeah, it's time to mess some things up on there again because I'm able to go live. It's great. There's tons of new features, stuff that I didn't even know existed. So maybe I'll play around with it. Maybe I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. We'll see. We'll see what happens, what actually manifests. But um, when I was on there thinking about rebirth and talking about this show and inviting everybody over for today, I started thinking about all the different times I've had rebirths in my life, and from near death experiences to, intentionally trying to create those situations to just general lifestyle, not thinking that I'd live beyond 30. And, here I am, best health I've ever been, happier than I've ever thought that I could be. I was thinking about the rebirth of having a child, the rebirth that we experience after an ego death or after working with psychedelic medicines and theogenic medicines. Um, there's just it happens naturally too in nature right now. This is a rebirth that's happening right now. And so this brings me to the main topic, and this article is available on the Elemental Growth website now. So if you type it in, you can read along with me, and I'll just fill in the blanks and go into more details as we dive in. The link here is elementalgrowth.org, and you'll want to go to resources, and in the resource section you'll find this article titled Frog Teachings About Rebirth. This is the guide to the spring equinox. And I don't have my agenda up here, but what I wanted to share, sorry, I never thought about actually having that as a prop. What I do in my written calendars is that I plan specific tasks that I'll do each season. And in my coaching practice, like you guys know this, I preach this in my book. If you read my book or you know my work so far, a lot of it is in the realm of aligning to the seasons, aligning to the moon cycles for integration of any experience. Maybe it's a rebirth of quitting an addiction like video games or alcohol or cigarettes. You become a new person. Your body becomes ever changing. This is a rebirth. And when you can align the rebirth to spring, you have a lot more working in your favor. You have, the actual natural alchemy that's happening all around you that you get to tap into. This is a time for transformation. This is a time for giving something out. A lot of people will, next week, we'll be talking about fasting because Ramadan will be starting and Lent is starting for the Easter celebration. So that's a time of letting things go. If you can tap into everybody else's energy who's already doing these things, it's a lot easier. Just as it's easier to fast on a full moon because there's so many other people in the collective doing it, and you get to tap into them. When you're starving, you get to tap into the people who've been starving for longer than you or starving more than you, and you get to learn from them in a spiritual connected way. There's a lot of stuff that we can do just by tapping into that which is already there for us, and which is already happening for us, not to us. It's happening for us. And so in this in my calendar, I break things up into the seasons. So for spring, I knew that I'd be working with frog medicine again. When I first did my initiation to frog medicine, it was in the fall. However, when I got called back to use it, it was in the spring, and very clearly in the spring, and everything around me. And let me just tell you this story instead of, going around the details, because really the details are what matters here. When I was called to frog medicine to the initiation, It was immediate. I had to do it on the spot. There was a sense of urgency. Um, I found the right practitioner. I had to travel to her, made it all happen. It was completely amazing. I did the entire initiation. So that meant I did 3 sessions within a moon cycle from new moon to full moon. And I actually did it all between the new moon and the fall equinox. So for me, it was so spiritual. It was 3 days of really powerful tapping into this magical that life has. And I was with great people. There's a lot of synchronicities that brought me to that moment. When I was called back to Campbell Frog Medicine, was right when the first lockdown happened. You weren't allowed traveling anywhere outside of your area code. The police were pulling people over. I didn't care. What I did was microdosed for 10 days, and I came up with a plan. I ended up manifesting for myself 300 acres of land out in the middle of nowhere where I got to practice permaculture for 10 weeks while everybody else was locked down. I manifested this beautiful thing. Here are the synchronicities about this experience. I was called back to the frog medicine so loudly, so clearly that the land I was working on had an entire, like a huge pond on it. And the pond was full of lily pads, and the frogs were just starting to spawn. It was right around this time, so we were doing some tree tapping of maple and birch. Another synchronicity was the lady who owned the land, Mrs. A. She was an author and she wrote a book on frogs. So her entire cabin that she had built-in bookshelves. Like this was a beautiful place. And so like I was so connected at that time, or I felt so connected to like just knowledge and to nature and to the frog. And the frog literally decorated every corner of every room. Every bookshelf had a frog knickknack. Every doorway had a frog statue holding the door open. Um, every single place was frogs because she wrote this frog book, and for years and years and years, every gift that she ever received from anybody had to do with the frog. And so it was just incredible synchronicities. And I was called back to work with um, with the frog in the spring. And ever since then, every spring, I think about Cambo and just renewing and a rebirth and a cleanse in this way. And so I was inspired this year when writing our spring equinox letter that I really brought the frog into it and the symbology and the teachings here. I'm sorry, I'm like a little emotional. I really love this stuff. The alignment to nature, sharing these parts of myself are so intimate. And also of course, the frog medicine in itself, it makes me very emotional. It's been so instrumental in my life. I feel really passionate about these things. And so I'm really blessed to have this opportunity as a professional in this space to be able to share them. Still, after all this time, to still feel this way. It's not repetitive to me. I'm always learning and growing every time that we come into a new season. It's something new, something more beautiful, a rebirth in itself. So go. If you've got the article up, you can read along. Again, I'm going to pause in between parts here and fill you in on just additional details so you can really make the most out of the changes happening now. One of my favorite quotes by Robin Williams is, "Spring is nature's way of saying, let's party." As the days become longer, spring washes away what remains of winter. Animals are awakening from hibernation. The bare earth is covered with fresh green shoots, and the birds' songs are rippling good vibes through the air. From ancient times, spring has been recognized as the season of beginnings, renewal, and rebirth. Spring's new energy invites us to take a breath of fresh air and awaken ourselves to nature's secret messages. Transforming the land, spring is giving us a renewed sense of curiosity and desire to participate in real life as we naturally start to spend more time outside. And many of you may already be experiencing this, the need, the call, the desire, or just observe yourself naturally spending more time outside. The kids I'm observing are just doing it, opening up the door, going outside, exploring. They want to have their rain boots on, or their gum boots as we call it, and they go and they're playing in the mud. They're all about all the wildlife that's out there, so we draw in a lot of wild creatures like squirrels and chickmunks and crows and bunny rabbits. And there's a lot of new little babies around too that are coming in for the food that we're putting out and calling them in. And the kids are learning so much from just spending that time, and they're learning patience too, because the animals that they want to pet and get close to aren't exactly coming. They're learning what animals like which food. We're all learning that if an animal doesn't want a food, it's likely because it's like a GMO crop or something, and we know not to get that thing anymore. And if the animals are coming to something like sourdough or something, we know like this is something delicious that they absolutely love, and it's something that we love too, and we're grateful to share little bits of with the creatures out there. So much to learn. And I love the kids' curiosity, and I love that they're just do it on their own. Open up those doors. We've opened up a lot of windows, a lot of doors, and I just sit there and I'm reading my books with the wind blowing in. It's still early. This is just the beginning. As I said, the snow just melted, but it's nice, and it's something worth it to do just for that cleanse. Another thing um, that happening a lot is the spring cleaning. Um, Once you start releasing that which is no longer serving you anymore, maybe it's clothing, maybe it's emptying drawers, maybe it's just cleaning up, making some more feng shui, uh, some more air, some more space. You start representing that and doing that within yourself too. I used to run a challenge every spring for spring cleaning. If you guys are interested in doing this, I'd be happy to do to set that up. If there's enough of you, I'll do a group. Otherwise, we can do a one-on-one, or I can send you a way to do it self-guided from the resources from the previous years. Um, but it does include both the cleansing of inside of yourself, as well as in your air and in your energy and in your environment. Okay, so just like how on our birthday we celebrate another year of life, spring is a rebirth, the season of new beginnings. This is a time of year when many animals are born and the land is transformed. Colorful and vibrant flowers welcome emerging bugs to feast on the nectar and pollinate the fruits to come. The vernal equinox takes place each year between the 20th and the 23rd of March in the northern hemisphere. So that's where we are here in Canada, and between the 20th and 23rd of September in the southern hemisphere. That this marks the first day of the astronomical spring, and is the moment when the day is the same length as the night. So this is the complete balance. From now on, the days will continue to grow longer up until the solstice, where they'll start getting shorter, and the shortest day of the year will be the longest night, which is in the winter. So our longest day will be in the summer, the shortest in the winter. Another thing I want to touch on here is like how in my calendar I was saying I break everything down into the seasons. I want to touch here that each of the 4 seasons can be broken down into 3 months each. In 3 months we have 13 weeks, and in 13 weeks we have 90 days. So when you start seeing it like this and breaking things down this way with the numbers, we're able to make the most out of our time. And once you start actually appreciating life again, like once I got sober, quit a bunch of the stuff. Once I started attracting people who are like really kind to me, once I started being appreciative and learning how to like sprinkle gratitude on everything like it's pixie dust, it's like I appreciated life, and I would take the time to figure out these little details, like how do I get the most out of what life I have left of me. So in doing this, I'm also able to hold myself accountable to the things that I want to change. I am really important thing. I'm able to plan for to make the most out of all of those months in general, and in return making the most out of my life, right? But there's certain things that I want to do in the summer that I won't do in the winter, and so I'm able to program in all the things that I want. I can't have it all at once, but I can still have it all. I can have it all in a year. I can have it all in 5 years. I can have it all, you know. um and Yeah, and it does help you appreciate life. It helps you celebrate things a little bit more too. It helps you track the data so you can see where it is that you have to optimize, and the things that you can optimize on. It helps make it easier for new and full moon celebrations so that you can manifest specific things at specific times, and also release things at specific times when, when nature's there helping, when the energies of the collective are there helping. I use these numbers to make the most out of each season, hold myself accountable to change, and to track the data so I can optimize year after year. Spring is commonly known for its rainy days, blossoms, and Easter celebrations, which in the Northern Hemisphere falls on the first Sunday following the full moon and the vernal equinox. For Christians, Easter eggs are a symbol of the resurrection. Eggs, however, are a symbol of creation, and that new life has been associated with spring and rebirth and creation celebrations for millennia. The ancient Egyptians believed that the sun god Ra hatched from a primal egg. The idea of the cosmic egg that gave birth to the universe is found in many cultures, civilizations, and religions. Whichever your belief, the sharing of the eggs, especially decorated chocolate ones, as a joyful experience to tie in with the spring celebrations. And this is something that's really well known. We don't do chocolate in that way in our house. There's always cacao ceremony or a really fancy recipe that people are, different members of the family or friends are chipping in to the preparation. So it's really special when we're doing the consuming. So essentially, we're taking cacao ceremony and that quality ingredients into our kitchen and teachings with the kids. But at the same time, we also do have other cacao ceremonies and things like that too. Um, we're not, we don't participate in holidays in these ways, especially not Christian ones. Growing up, I was raised Christian. That is what we do. Easter hunts. Um, there's ones that we would do in the community that would be outdoors. Ones that our family members would do that would be inside. Sometimes we'd visit family, and like it was just so much junk food, so much chocolate, so much sugar, so much dairy, so much garbage, like the garbage ingredients and the garbage itself that's created from all of the consumerism. It was a lot. I know I sound like maybe the Easter Grinch here, and I definitely can see the yeah, how that resembles and like reflects into like my feelings about all holidays, including Christmas as well. But there are so many other ways that we can tap into what's actually like naturally happening, and the joy and the celebrations that can happen, while also being aligned to your health goals, being aligned to what your goals are when it comes to like maybe minimalism or intentional like conscious consumerism, essentially. So, have in alignment, prep for these things. It's definitely a part of it. This has been a tradition since millennia. Like ancient Egyptians were tuning into these powers, back then through the frog and through this egg symbolism. I'm going to get into frogs here now because that's definitely more my thing, but uh, or were the eggs, but I mean, we enjoy eggs. We're using saving the eggshells and sometimes fill them up with like chalk and do chalk bombs. Sometimes we just crush them up with the mortar and pestle and we make fertilizer for in the gardens. Different things that we do. You can make chalk out of it in itself. There's it's highly you can make toothpaste out of it. Yeah, a lot of things you can do with the like with eggs to tap into and have fun and create memories that don't have to do with decorating them with chocolate or dyes. But if that's still your thing and that's what your family's doing, that's okay too. It's okay to participate. Just think about the future always. How do you use this experience and prepare better for next year? So it's like next year, how do we make our own homemade dyes? Next year, how do we make our own homemade chocolate? That kind of thing. And then you write that down for next year. So next year it is in more alignment with you and everything gets done. So, frogs. Today is known as World Frog Day. So definitely go celebrate some frogs. I don't think they're around here in Canada, Ontario right now, but they are coming soon. Pretty soon, the little it'll be little tadpoles and polywags, and then we'll get the frogs soon. But this was the worm moon, so all of the soil is actually so wet right now. Like the worms are starting to come up. Little blossoms. Soon you'll be able to get leeks. As I said, you can get maple syrup and that kind of stuff right now. When when it comes to frogs, though, they are a symbol of rebirth, and this is when they would start coming out of hibernation or even start laying their eggs too for the next generation. So that's kind of what we do in the winter, right? We're germinating seeds for the rebirth that's happening now. It's not too late to do that if you haven't done that already, but I kind of plan my whole year in the winter months. That way, again, everything gets done, all my studies and everything, I can integrate it all in those busier months, and I'm learning it all in the winter, deader, slower months where I can consume more, and then I create and integrate and take action and practice during all the warmer months when I'm naturally more active. And so frogs are wonderful representations of spring's power to move into new beginnings. Frogs specifically are companions on Earth as they have been for countless centuries. They live in the stories and in the myths of almost every human culture. The ancient Egyptians used the sign of the frog to write after the names of the deceased. The well-wishing terms used to read, "live again," since frog was a symbol of rebirth. It showed its role in the resurrection. Frogs were associated with resurrection because during their hibernation period in the winters, they would put a stop in all their activities and hide among the stones. They remained stationary in their pools or river banks until the dawn of spring. These hibernating frogs would not require any food to stay alive. It almost seemed like they were dead. When the spring arrived, these frogs would jump out of the mud and slime and go back to being active. Hence, they became seen as symbols of resurrection and birth in ancient Egyptian culture. The life cycle of a frog starts with mating. A pair of adult frogs would engage in plexus while the female lays her eggs. Tadpoles start to grow inside the eggs, and then metaphor. I'm thinking about the show Animorphs, but they metaphor into like the little juvenile frogs, which we call around here pollywags. The frogs develop hind legs and forelimbs, but not yet transform into fully grown frogs. They look kind of cool. They still have the tail. I always enjoyed them. I spent a lot of time around ponds. I had a lot of time to play with these things and watch these things growing up, and I've been grateful to have Finn in situations where he gets to be exposed to them too. So tadpoles have their tails, but they mature into young frogs. They lose their tails. Frogs are amphibians, which stems from the Greek word amphibious, meaning living a double life. This is because their life is divided into two stages, separated by metamorphosis. In the first stage, they grow and develop in water while breathing through gills. Later, they develop lungs, allowing them to live on land as adults. Frogs have smooth, moist skin and long legs, whereas toads are stout and rough, bumpy skin and shorter legs, making them less agate than frogs. However, toads can live away from the water longer because their thick skin maintains moisture and protects them. Frogs are cold-blooded and need a specific living environment due to their unique skin. Excessive exposure to the sun can harm their cells. Too much wind might cause frog skin to dry out, which will dehydrate them. In an ecosystem, if an ecosystem is disrupted or polluted with chemicals like herbicides and pesticides, amphibians are the first to die. This is why over half of the frog populations are in danger of extinction. These things, they'll go anywhere where there's water. They are, yeah, so if there's farmlands, anything like that, where there's going to be bugs, where there's going to be water, you're likely going to find frogs or toads. You're going to find little ponds where there's going to be these tadpoles and polywags. They're going to be everywhere right now. And the more moisture there is, the better environment. But this is one thing that we really do have to be cautious of too, right? Is, if we're consistently buying foods that are sprayed with pesticides, we are not only consuming that and harming ourselves, but we're also contributing to the problem of why they're still using it to grow food. And that in return is harming our soils, and it's harming and endangering these spiritual species that have been around here helping humans and guiding humans with these secret messages and potent medicines for since ancient times. Uh, a lot of creatures work one-on-one with us humans. So many plants, so many fungus. Like we have, the fungus are among us. We've been growing alongside these species, and it's only been recent years that we've disassociated ourselves from the natural world. And it's not even us that are doing it. We are suffering collectively nature deficit disorder. NDD is the cause, the root of just about everything in existence right now. And it's because there's a few dominators that want to be in control of absolutely everything. And so they remove us for generations now, causing problems within families, separating us and dividing us from nature and from each other, from our families, from our networks. And, this is a time of rebirth. This is the revolution happening now. And I'm really grateful to be a part of it, to be at the forefront of it, to, have the tools and resources to be helping like as best as I can. I mean, like showing up here on Sundays, I don't feel like it's enough. Uh, but I know that you guys share it and ripple it out. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful that I have this opportunity, that you guys even show up and care enough to share it with somebody that you care about. I'm going to break down just like a little bit of the vocabulary, I guess. So the noun amphibian, sorry, has its roots in the word amph, meaning both kinds, meaning life. The word is used as a class of animal that spend part of their lives in the water and part on land. This is why when we talk about frog medicine, why it's moving through the elements, moving from water to earth. moving, and we're doing that moving into our physical body too, right? When I was working with frog medicine, I was very much in the spiritual world, very much in an emotional place, very much in the victim. As I started working with this medicine, I became in my body. It's hard not to be in my body. I was very physically in my body working with frog medicine. Meanwhile, if I'm working with, let's say, mushrooms, then I'm working with the roots, the depths. I'm often going to hell and then finding a way to open up the gates to bring more people up into heaven so that we can create heaven here on earth. It's more about connection to the collective energy, connection to all that is on earth. Frog medicine, very much in body. It was my own personal vessel that we were working on, and also through the generations and the DNA and the cells and all that kind of stuff, and how that fractals out and has its own ripple effect. When working with DMT, that's very much in the heavens, working in those realms. I'm very much called to lay back and look up into the heavens. I feel the gravity on my body, and I feel myself leave my body and shoot into astral projection. Essentially, I'm looking at the world in a different way, and I'm feeling different things, and so I put this vocabulary in here because I wanted to just bring that up, that you're moving through the elements, that is part of the rebirth, and working with these medicines, a really powerful way to do that. The frog symbolism in spiritual meaning symbolizes water and land and helps connect us with the natural world and our intuitive side. They have the power to transform, mature, and renew the soul, which is what we're looking for, essentially, right? We want that. We want our soul to be free. We want our ego and our soul to be aligned, so our ego is working with us to achieve the work that's ours to do, the goals that were given to us specifically. A frog's ability to transform from one element to another, changes its skin color depending on its environment, represents change and transformation. You also see this represented in fairy tales. When the toad or frog is kissed, they're changed into a prince, symbolizing rebirth and evolution. A frog's spiritual meaning is associated with fertility, good luck, prosperity, money, transformation, new beginnings, love, and the moon, due to its close connection with water. This is why with Cambo Frog Medicine, we're doing 3 ceremonies within a moon cycle, new moon to full moon, 3 sessions, because that is moving with the tides, essentially. And that's also working with our own menstrual cycles. And men have their menstrual cycle too, which often will align with a woman's cycle if they're married or in a serious relationship. Otherwise, they may feel out of alignment too, and one reason why they would be drawn to one particular female, perhaps somebody that reminds them of a mom or a sister, or something to create, to self-regulate. I did do an awesome article on self-regulation using the Circadian Rhythm, which you can find at elementalgrowth.org, or if you go under, if you're reading this article right now and you just scroll down, you should be able to find it there. Um, where was I here? Okay. Uh, Frogs and amphibians, nurtured in water once they emerge to dry land. And frogs. Um, yeah, I am gonna read this part actually. Okay, frogs are amphibians spending their early life nurtured in water, and once they emerge onto dry land. Frogs, they are never far from a water source. The frog is, and neither should we be, right? Always be hydrating. Frogs teach us that, and that is a threat from the frog. Hydrate or else. They we do need to be doing that as well. Stay hydrated, have those baths, regulate with salt waters too. The frog is recognized as a healer in North and South America customs as well as Celtic traditions. Frog is believed to bring rain when needed, when rain would bring food. Food is medicine. So in some parts it's around that. This is for many reasons. Water cleanses and also gives earth a renewed freshness. Similarly, frog medicine can wash away any negative physical and mental energies which deny us balance in a peaceful life. The frog spirit also helps us to nourish our own innate ability to heal ourselves on all levels. The notion of renewal is frequently linked with water, representing an unblocking, a smooth flow of energy for healing. Due to the fact that frogs are found in water and on land, they hold the magic of both. Those with frog medicines are extremely sensitive, and the use of mud baths is advised. And so I was just talking about different types of sand and dirt and this type of cleansing with muds with another nutritionist, a friend of mine. We didn't grow up together, but we have these connections. My brother's, the family that raised my brother, we call her grandma. She is my grandma. And her family always so amazing. Again, they are our family. Um, and her cousin and best friend has a daughter, and now me and that daughter, we didn't spend a lot of time, but she went down the same kind of path as I did many moons ago, getting certified in nutrition. And her and I just connected out of nowhere over all of the coronavirus stuff, and through a mutual friend who also does gardening much like me, soul sister of mine. And so there's like all these different ways that we were connecting. And once we actually hopped on the phone, or not on the phone, but like into private messaging and things like that, some of the resources we were exchanging back and forth was just ideas about how different muds would help with cleansing both coronavirus as well as the side effects coming from the vaccines, or the medical public health interventions, medical interventions, whatever we'll call them. Um, so so it came up on a psychedelic summit recently as well that mushrooms help with both the vaccinated and with coronavirus, because of the way that mushrooms, and this is again, all mushrooms are magic, some only one, so keep that in mind. Make sure you know what mushrooms you're working with. Magic mushrooms, so they influence our gut microbiome instantly, and the effects last, this is one of the reasons why people who were once depressed no longer are, and things like that after just one dose of one heroic dose of mushrooms. And over time with microdosing, how the same kind of effects happen is because it changes our gut microbiome. And so psychedelic mushrooms will help with this. So will frog medicine, so will just nutrition in general. So will these dirts and these sands of ancient times. So there's different clays, bentonite clay. There's diatomaceous earth. There is activated charcoal. There is colon clay. There is green Indian clay. There's so many different things that we can do both on our skin and in our body too, to tap into this earth energy. Now these cleanses, like for activated charcoal, for example, if this is one of the ones that you're called to work with, it's going to work like a magnet and pull everything out of your body. So you can't use this for long periods of time, maybe 1 to 3 days, um, with a lot of water, so that you're really filtering things out, but you don't want to be on it for long periods of time. You can, however, use it in bath, but again, if you're doing this long period of time, it may dry out your skin. If you find the sweet spot though, this can be really medicinal for you. This can be really helpful. This could be magical, just like the frog, just like the rebirth happening now. The deepest healing will always take place and be fulfilled on the emotional level. Emotions are linked to water, especially tears. So this is when we're coming into the sacral chakra again. Um, yeah, a lot of those elimination organs are attached to your sacral, to our emotions. Some of us, especially men, are brought up to believe that crying is something to be ashamed of, that you're weak, wimpish, or childish if you cry. When we deprive ourselves of this powerful form of emotional release, we bottle it up, and then that causes eventually to reach some unbelievable lows in our life. Energies become blocked with the frog's assistance, however, we can begin to realize and experience tears and yeah, and begin to rain just as naturally as the rain. There are few species of frogs who actually care for their offspring. After mating, they abandon the eggs. Because of this, lessons to do with survival are common in people who are called to work with frog medicine. Scientists believe that the frog population's health reflects the health of the entire ecosystem as a whole. Frog is strongly linked to transformation and magic. So, just to put this into perspective, you guys, is that this it's good to release. There's a lot of rain right now. There's going to be this release inside of us as well. And as we go through these 3 moon cycles of spring, you're going to notice that there's going to be a lot to let go of. So just relax, let it flow, and instead of fighting against the current, you'll be able to just float above it all. And yeah, cry if you need to cry, sweat if you need to sweat, nurture your elimination organs through a cleanse, a water fast. Different things like this can be really helpful. Working with some of the clays, as I mentioned before, doing a cleansing of your environment, like I had mentioned before. Another thing I just want to bring into perspective here is that a lot of us that are called to work with frog medicine, that may not be everybody here on this call today. I suspect not. I suspect some of you just want to learn the spiritual meaning of spring, and others want to learn how it is that you can align with the seasons for business growth. And some of you are here to learn a little bit what I have to say about the frog. And one of these things is that if you're being called to work with this, it may be because of abandonment issues. This may be a great opportunity to work through those abandonment issues, some of those root chakra things, some of those sacral chakra memories that are just locked and blocked up in there. So this is a time to let go and release it, to feel it and free it, you guys. Working with the frog medicine can definitely help with this, but you don't have to actually, have gates open for Campbell frog medicine to do this. You can just, get a frog statue and meditate on the frog and, be open to a rebirth in general at this time by tapping into the spring messages. And lastly, on this point, is that scientists believe that the population's health reflects the health of the entire ecosystem, and frogs bring about that transformation. So, in other words, the reason why I add this in here is that once we get past these issues, like for example, an abandonment issue, we're then able to reflect and change that health on a larger scale, the entire ecosystem as a whole. We then ripple that out into our children, into our ancestral healing, into our legacy healing, into our friends and our family who get to take that and then do that work on their own, take it to our clients so that they can ripple that out in their own families and their own communities. And with this energy also comes transformation and magic. We are at time here, so I'm just going to wrap up. I went into the story of the Frog Prince. I probably could have posted that up above when I had mentioned it previously in this article. I know you guys are familiar and you have access to this, as I said, up on the website. So just um, to wrap things up here, I encourage you, read this story, read The Frog Prince. I have it in this article, and then do the work that it takes to create your own story, your own version of this rebirth. I give some prompts here, some journaling prompts you can do. So again, whether or not you're working with the frog medicine or just, doing this to be in alignment with the seasons, to give yourself a cleanse, to just have journaling prompts and gain some clarity and direction in your own life. This can be really helpful. I also share with you guys in here, ways that you can contact me and take things a step further. And yeah, and there's so much good to come. If you keep scrolling, you guys, you'll be able to see a few of the other articles that may be helpful in this way. I'll let you go for now. Get this uploaded so everybody can access it on YouTube and Odyssey and in the Signal group as well. I'm going to enjoy my wonderful lunch that I see is still sitting there. I want to thank you all for joining me today, for sharing in the equinox, in the yeah, I guess it's World Frog Day is called. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful Sunday. See you back here at 5 when Tristan goes live. I'm sure it's gonna be something amazing around spirituality. And again, you get to celebrate just a little bit with him too. So wonderful time. We're grateful to share it with you and wishing you all the best. Bye for now.